Alright guys, welcome to part 5 of building my ICF house. So in this video we're going to be putting up the basement walls. We're going to be forming and pouring, as well as doing some homemade bracing. In the last video we got the slab done and we made easy work to start everything because everything's already laid out. Everything's all squared up. It's leveled out height wise. So if you guys remember a few videos ago, I was going to run the geothermal out the frost wall and then head over there because I'm going to put my pond loop right in that little area right there. But we did away with that, so we're going to be installing some sleeves right here to go through as low as we can, and then that way we can shoot right over there where those ducts are, and then I can dig that out and put my geothermal loop in before everything gets frozen. We got plenty more penetrations that we need to put in here, but they're going to be a lot higher up. This is the only one that's going to be at footing height there. So my rebar schedule on this house from the engineered plans is every 16 inches we have our hooks. These are our J hooks. Those are 5/8 or number 5 rebar. And then going up the wall, we're going to have it again at every 16 inches, but it's only going to be number 4, which is 1/2 inch rebar. So we're also going to have every 16 inches, we're going to have horizontal rebar. So we're going to have a 16-inch grid of rebar, which is going to be all number 4, 1/2 inch, going up the whole wall. So here's a stack of 90 pieces of number 4 rebar. These are 20 feet long, but I actually need about 130 pieces altogether just for this basement wall. I'm ready to put my wall bracing on. But before I can do that, this is going to be my common splice here, and this is where I want my bracing, because this is only about 10 feet here, so it's like 5 feet in from each side. But I need to put on the strapping first, because I'm going to actually attach to the strapping. These little marks right here are where the webbing is, and you can attach to it. It's 1.5 inches wide and I don't know, 6 inches tall, and so there's 6 inches on center as well. So you can attach to these. They have a really high strength for attaching things. And then right here where it says BB, that's even more attachment right there. It's thicker plastic right there, and it's kind of like right where the gusset is on the webbing. So that's actually like super high strength. So I'm going to span 2 of these on each side. That's how long the strapping needs to be. Catch 2 here and 2 here to put it together. What you don't want to really do is put something going vertical on this right here, because this can settle. When the concrete goes in here, it pushes things together. So if you have one continuous piece of plywood, for instance, it's not going to let it compress like it needs to, and then you could end up with a problem, because some places might compress and some places won't compress. Alright, so that's what forms the beam over top of this door. 2 number 5s on the top, 2 number 5s on the bottom, spaced far enough away from the edge of the concrete. And then we got the number 3s, the stirrups, holding them up. And then when I put some vertical rebar in, I'll tie it to those bottom ones so they don't go swinging around like that. You notice how the number 5s go at least a foot past the opening. So here's the layout for the first floor. These are going to be the concrete joists here. Right here there's going to be some stairs. This is the front of the house. This is the rear entrance here. I just got moved over to the middle. So basically right here we're going to have a beam that's an 8-inch I-beam. It's a W8 by 31. 31 is the weight of it per linear foot. So it's 8 inches tall and 31 pounds per linear foot is how you measure basically the flange on it, which is another 8 inches. So it's an 8 by 8 and it's a 1/4 inch thick on the web. So we need a beam pocket because we need a beam pocket right here, and then there's going to be a column right there. But we also need a beam pocket right here and right here, because here is another W8 by 31 going across here to hold up these joists, and also to hold up these joists right here. So we need the same thing going on over here. We need another W8 by 31 going across here. So altogether we need 5 beam pockets. So here is the beam pocket details. What we have is a 3/4 inch bearing plate, and on the bottom it requires a 5-inch shear stud, 5/8 thick, 2 of them on the bottom of the bearing plate, welded on, and then you wet set that by putting it in the wall first, and then you can weld the beam to it, and it's hooked into the wall. So the beam needs to go 4 inches into the wall, and they want to see a 12-inch bearing plate. Plate needs to be 4 inches by 12 inches at 3/4 inch thick. It could go more to extend over the ICF if you want, but it's really not necessary. And then you can see we got some rebar that we got to put in, 2 number 5s underneath of it, 2 number 5s over top of it. Over top of it's going to be flush with everything else, and just the beam is going to be set down. So we can't put the rebar over top of it until we do the next floor. So what I have here is a 3/4 inch plate, and this is 5 inches wide. So we're just going to leave that, and it's 12 inches going the other way. So this is good to go. It's ready to have a stud welded on. These are the studs. They're 5/8 of an inch thick and 5 inches tall, and you just weld them on there like that, and then it kind of grabs the concrete and makes it so everything is pulled tight together. So in other words, the beam's not just resting in there, it's actually welded and solid into the wall, pretty much embedded into the wall. So I have a few other 3/4 inch plates. I got this at my local steel yard. It was in the scrap section. There was actually a lot more. I could have made a lot more plates, and they sell it for like 84 cents a pound. So I didn't have to even worry about them cutting anything. This cut right here is literally cold. It's not even warm, it's literally cold. There's absolutely no warmth in that whatsoever. I've owned this saw for like 6 or 7 years now, and this thing has been impressive right from the start, and it still impresses me to this day. That was 3/4 inch steel, and it cut through it like it was wood. There's nothing that you'd cut that with short of an industrial bandsaw that's going to cut it that fast. And that clean too. Most of the time on a commercial site they would have what's called a stud welder, and it would basically, it's like a gun that you put this in, and then this side right here welds itself to the steel that you're trying to apply it to, and it's quick. It's like you just hit the thing and it's done. Eventually maybe I'll own something like that, but for right now I'm just going to weld this on with some 7018 rods. Now because you're going to start out on one side, it's going to want to pull to that side as soon as it starts cooling, which is instantly. So what I'm going to do is lean it to the other side a little bit and try to counteract it and then stand it up straight. It doesn't have to be necessarily crazy straight, but I'd like to get it somewhat straight. I made 3 passes on each one of them, but I don't think that's totally necessary because the stud gun is only going to weld a little bit. I did manage to get them pretty straight though. So to make this easy to go inside the wall, I don't really see a great way to attach wood to this to keep it in place. So what I'm going to do, this is the bottom side of it, so what I'm going to do is take an 8-inch strip of 16th inch steel and put it right here, and right there, and right there. And then that way it keeps the concrete out of this beam, and then I'll drill some holes in it to keep it in place. So this is going to be my stairs right here, and so there's going to be a beam that's going to sit in that pocket there. It's going to sit on a column over there. I decided to leave 38 inches for my stairway, so that is this mark. That's the end of the beam, and then here's the other end of the beam. That's 8 inches. So we have a 12-inch plate, so we're going to cut from there to here. So what I ended up doing here is putting some angle iron on here, and then that way I drilled a hole right there and right there. Alright, so that beam pocket is done. I'm just going to spray foam around the sides and on the bottom just to kind of hold it in place better. This actually needs to be extended up about another inch. I'm not pouring the concrete all the way to the top here. I'm actually pouring it about 1.5 inches low, about right there. I want just enough coverage over these pieces of rebar on the top here, but not anything more. I don't need to worry about screeding this off and making it look good because I'm pouring a floor on top of this, and I'm going to pour it right into this. So I'm just literally going to pour it and just let it sit there really rough. I'm not going to screed it off. Leaving it rough like that will actually make a better attachment point for the floor. So now I need to put 2 beam pockets there and 2 beam pockets there. All right, so the pump truck is here. He's all set up, just waiting on the concrete. We got 3 trucks coming in. We got 30 yards coming in. Everything is all set up. We got vertical rebar every 16 inches. And then we're gonna wet set 4-foot pieces on the eve ends. So that far side and this side, that's where all the weight's gonna be resting. And the joists are gonna be going this way, so we need rebar to bend up into them. So every 12 inches on those walls, and then every 16 inches on this wall. Simon's forms. I've requested Simon's forms. Alright guys, so last night we were into the dark getting this finished off. We had to put all this rebar in here. That's going to be a poured deck up there, and it's got a lot of interesting details that I'll show you guys on the next video, or actually in the next two videos. There's really not a lot of concrete mess in here either, partly because we took all of the packaging for all of these ICFs and we just put it around the perimeter just real quick while the truck was here, just so that we didn't get concrete all over the floor. So waterproofing and backfilling will be the next video, and that's just going to be probably a small video, but then we're going to pour the deck up there, and that's going to be really interesting. There's really two different systems that are used in this house, and it just keeps repeating. It's basically the walls, then the floor, then the walls, then the floor, and then the roof is the same as the floors, just at a different angle. So I'm not trying to go up with another course of ICFs until after the slab. So I'm not worried about all this stuff that got in between here. I just wanted to keep it flat, because right here I'm just going to put some styrofoam coming up the height of the slab just to back it on this side. But then immediately on top of the slab we're going to pour another wall. If the top of your foundation is not level, which in this case I don't even care, it doesn't matter, because we're coming up with the forms, and the forms will be level so that it's now leveled off again. So that's a really good advantage of using this ICF decking on top of this poured wall here, instead of a regular joist system, because then you're just continuing on the walls, which, yes, you don't have to worry about the height on that, but if you're out of square a little bit, you can't fudge it like you need to. So the same thing on the outside. I really didn't get a lot of concrete on it, and the little bit that I did, I just kind of scraped it off, so it's, at least it's not protruding out, because I'm doing a liquid waterproofing on this, so having the concrete sticking out all over the place is not ideal. Now I'm still going to have to deal with this foam that's sticking out, but that's much easier to take off than concrete, especially a few days after the concrete is cured. So I got a pretty big mess I got to clean up here. I got to take all of my strapping, and I have the corner to corner strapping on the inside around the whole thing. I don't think that's necessary, but I like that idea because the top course isn't locked together with another course on top of it. So in places like this joint right here, this joint, if something happens, this joint can move this way if things are pushing it, because there's nothing on the top to link it together. So that's why I had strapping going into the corner and out a little bit from the corner on the whole inside, everywheres, just to make sure. I just don't want any problems with that. These beam pockets are pretty rough looking right now, but like this piece of foam right here can come off, and all the foam around it can be cut out, and then that's a nice clean spot for a beam. This ICF bracing that I made, it worked really well. I had to adjust it. At first I had this too low, and then once I stacked up 8 feet, I realized that I could actually go a little bit higher and still be fine. Expanding foam is like your best friend with ICFs. It just fills in everything, and it also keeps everything held together. You wouldn't believe how strong that is, just from the adhesion once it sets up. There was a few places, like right there and right there, where I had at least 2 inches for a gap, just because the joint lined up with a full piece in a way where it didn't on the next one, and it was no big deal because I just put the expanding foam in there, and that adheres it together and it seals the concrete out. I think on almost every video to this series of this house, I'm going to do a small part on the end telling you what I wish I would have done. One thing that I wish I would have done is brace from the inside. So the way that this works out, it's fine, but in my opinion it's more work, because we're getting in and out of this trench every time we need to do anything for the bracing, to set it up and adjust things and to get on and off. It was just, I think it was a lot more work because of that. I think if I had braced it from the inside, it would have been a lot less work for that segment of it. The whole idea behind the decision I made to do outside bracing was the fact that I could take that rolling scaffolding and go on the inside and just have another person able to do stuff on the inside. I really just don't need another person up there. I was up there pumping it, and until it even got to the top, there was no purpose for another person to be there. Vibrating was done from the inside and outside of the walls, but they didn't need to be on the scaffolding to do that. So there was one place where I dumped some concrete on one of the last projects right there, and we had to put a stake in right there. We ended up drilling like an 1.5-inch hole. We had a core bit that we just kind of went down a little bit into this concrete, and then we stuck this stake in there. And then I took expanding foam and I like filled up around the hole and on the bottom of this plate, and then just stuck it down and let it sit for a few hours. And this is like more solid than having a stake in the ground. I could have done the same thing, and that was another reason why I didn't want to brace from the inside, is because I got the radiant heat in there and I didn't want to be drilling into the floor. Once I do the first floor walls, I can't really brace from the outside anyways, because the bracing would be so long it wouldn't be effective. So I'm going to have to brace it from the inside anyway. So I should have just done that and just do it throughout the whole thing. I need to do the first floor walls and then the second floor walls, and I need to brace them from the inside. So I'm going to utilize this method of using that foam. And I've seen other people do it, but I was really reluctant on relying on that. Inside this utility room, there's just enough room to fit everything in here. But that's fine. I don't need a huge room for a utility room. It's only 8 by 8, but that's fine. This right here is going to be a sleeve for my septic system. And so what I did, this is just thin wall pipe, and it will get crushed under the weight of the concrete. So what you should do is always put like a 2 by 6, or in this case maybe a 2 by 8 rip down, because this is a 6-inch pipe. You should put something in there to hold it up vertically, you know, like another board in here like that. Or you could do what I did, I just stuck this like 2 by 3 in there and it just foamed around it. And then now when I go to take this out, all I gotta do is cut that foam out. So here is my incoming electric 2-inch PVC pipe. That's the conduit that's coming in, and it's gonna come over and it's gonna be a panel right there. And then I also have a sleeve for my incoming water. I wanna address a question that I know I'm gonna get in the comments, and that is, why did I not put any windows in this basement? So there's a few different reasons why I didn't put a window in this basement. Number one, the whole house I want to be like a shelter. But for an extreme situation that may occur in the future, if there was a reason why I needed it to be disaster proof or a shelter in place, this whole house is going to be a shelter. It's indestructible. But once you get to the first and second floor, you got windows and doors. So what I want to do in here is I want to make it so this basement is absolutely indestructible. The way I'm going to do that, number one, is not have any windows. Number two is over by the door over there. That door is going to have a vault built around it. What I may even do, just for extra precaution here, is put like a vault, we're going right here, that I can block off completely. That way you could send a missile through that door and you still could not get through this part right here. The other part that's going to be indestructible is going to be the stairway. I'm going to build a vault around this stairway, so that if somebody was to come invade this house, they would not be able to get in this basement. I don't care what they did, because there would be a vault right there, and there would be a vault right there, and there would be no way through that. Because I'm going to fabricate some things here, and I may or may not put that all on video, because some of it might be a secret. But I want to make it so that nobody can get in this basement and harm us unless they send a missile from the sky. So with that being said, if I have windows, I have weak spots. I want this to be exactly like an underground bunker. So any openings that you have anywheres are going to be a problem with a bunker. And I don't like windows right on the ground anyways. So that's my reason why I didn't put a window in here, or 2 or 3 or 4. That's just my personal opinion. I'm not paranoid about people breaking into my house. But if I'm going to build something, I'm going to build it to the best of my abilities so that it can never be destructed. We've had a lot of freezing weather at night lately, so I'm really anxious to get this all cleaned up, waterproofed, and then backfilled at least 4 feet all the way around. That way I don't have to worry about frost. That way I don't have to worry about the frost heaving the footings. So I got to get cleaning up here, and I'll see you guys in the next video.